Can we test now? Are we getting audio feedback? I really hope so because we're putting effort in here and we do have 4 available cameras. So can we test now? Let's go. Okay, we actually do have audio. So I think it's appropriate that it's time to begin. And since I am a Christian man, I will begin this off with a prayer if that's appropriate. Because it is, and this is a Christian-based YouTube channel. Okay. First of all, introduction. My name's Leo, and actually just do more of the introduction stuff afterward. Okay, pray with me. Dear Lord, when I have the one true God, I pray that you bless our understanding, and I pray that you guide each and every one of our hearts, Lord. I ask and pray for all these things in Christ's fresh, glorious, wonderful name. Amen. All right. Other than that, my name is Leo, and I am old enough. Anyways, I am still developing mentally, and I don't know much of anything. Actually, I do know stuff, but I'm still growing. And I by no means am to say that I'm a professional in any way, shape, or form of psychology, theology, or anything else that I might bring up in today's lecture, more or less. So, as you can see, I have the environment, I have a map, I have a degree in the background, it's not mine. List of the 10 Commandments, and a baptism record. That's also not mine, because I don't own a house, or any of the things on those walls. So anyways, today's topic is going to be, let me skip to the middle. So, today's topic is going to be, as you see, there's a watermark right here. Yeah, this is a watermark, okay? It's not under my control because I don't want to pay money, but it is just going to have to do for today, so. Well, today we'll be discussing the importance of objectivity inside of religious debate. What does that mean? First of all, what even is objectivity? So if we were to just look it up right now, which I'll do so. What is objectivity? The quality of being objective. Okay, what is objective mean? What does objective mean? Not influenced by personal feelings or opinions in considering and representing facts, contrasted with subjective. So ideally, when you're being objective, you want to be bias free, and you want to be solely based off known information and reliable sources, okay? But the reason that religion is such a big deal whenever it comes to being objective is that, number one, a lot of people are not objective nowadays. You see a lot of people including their own bias and ignoring direct things because a lot of people aren't open-minded. They don't want to accept truth or accept the possibility of a different truth than their own, right? But I've done my best to be open to it and stuff, but we can get to that in a second. The second thing is that objectivity matters so much because you can only base because there's a huge distinction between known fact and faith, okay? And a lot of what we know is based off faith. Let me make sure this audio is still going real quick, just because I'm worried. Are we getting audio feedback? A different frequency. Yeah, so. But you have two different sects. So you have sects, as in sectors, okay? So on my left, might be your right. So on my, wait, is there a way to fix that? I think there is. But because I saw an option 5 seconds ago that said mirrored camera. What? Okay, anyways. Wait, do I see other settings? Let me check that. Okay, it might be a bit slower. It's a bit more high quality. Anyways, returning to where I was. So you have faith and you have 100% guaranteed fact. And you have 90% fact. So you have 3-star faith. Okay. You have 4-star, as in most of the sources say this, but something could have always happened. And then you have 5-star, 100% fact. And 100% fact is only things that you can physically observe in that moment. So 100% fact, I'm alive as I'm speaking. Whether or not I'm alive whenever you're watching this is, unless you're watching it live, but if this is after the fact or something like that. So if you're watching this as an uploaded video, whether or not I'm alive is not, well, this is not something I know right now, but at this very instant, yet still, at this instant, I can claim for 100% fact that I am currently alive. And I believe that when this thing comes out, I will most likely still be alive. So, we can state that as 100% fact, because 100% fact is in an instant. Is in an instant of the timeline. This little slit of the timeline, this very moment, I'm currently alive. So, or at least this period of time, right? So we can objectively say that that is a fact that I'm currently alive right now. And since objectivity is based on facts and ignoring personal feeling or bias or anything else that may come in the way, we consider facts to be our highest source of information. Unfortunately, though, most of our processes aren't facts. For example, anything that happened in the past is technically could not be considered fact. Unless, actually, yeah, it can't be considered fact. But I'll tell you more about it. Like, even if you, in my next thing, but fact is 100% fact in the moment. Okay? So anything that happened in the past, we still can't be 100% sure about. And I'll tell you why in a second. Like 100% sure about. Okay? No matter how likely it seems. Because you can get 99.999% and all this stuff, and it can still not be considered fact. objective truth in an instant. Okay? But I'll explain why now. Because in this 4-star rating, so you have 5 stars are facts. It's like it gets the most points, right? So facts should be deemed above all information. So all things that are currently existing as truth on top of the hierarchy. So here's your triangle. Top of the hierarchy. And are you envisioning it? I hope so. So in the top of the hierarchy, this pyramid, triangular hierarchy, is the top layer, which consists of facts. Okay? And then we're going to go down to this middle layer. Well, it's still upper layer, but like I'm going to consider, like, so you went from 5-star, most information, most highly regarded, to 4 stars. So, of course, that's just like an absurd tier list ranking system or whatever. It's fallible in itself, too. But that's kind of my main point here. In 4 stars, we can say reliable, very highly reliable sources are also to be deemed very highly. For example, but not in 100% regard. Okay. So, for example, you can say that actively 5 seconds ago, at this current instant, if you were watching a live stream, 5 seconds ago, I was alive. Because if I wasn't alive, I wouldn't be here now. Okay? But here's the other thing. Even though you watching this video can say that I was alive 5 seconds from this current instant, in my particular timeline and where I am in time, because you're probably watching this for the future, considering there's only one person watching this stream right now, and that one person is me from another computer. So, it's just for audio purposes only, just to test the usefulness of this, like see if it works. So, you can say, watching that thing, that I was alive 5 seconds before this instant. But what you cannot say is that there's not a possibility of what you just saw was AI, or that I wasn't actually alive and this is a different person or something like that. Like, what if I just died and disappeared and you didn't even notice? What if I'm so weak? And on top of that, I mean, that's kind of a vague example, right? It's kind of not the best for this context. But let me give another one. So, we can all quite surely we can all be quite truthful in saying that Abraham Lincoln was a real person, that he lived and he died. Well, maybe some people can debate whether or not he died, but we can all collectively say that Abraham Lincoln did exist at some point. But we can't, it's impossible to say that with 100% certainty. And here's why. Number one, our main sources of Abraham Lincoln's life is based off of, we'll just use Jesus for this, because that's an appropriate context too. So our main source of Jesus' life is come from scriptures, right? And we have so many of these scriptures from people who claim to be eyewitnesses. Now, that obviously it's not going to be as accurate as, and I mean, you can say with higher accuracy that texts writing about, like, records of Abraham Lincoln's life are most likely more trustworthy than records of Jesus' life from an objective point of view, because there's more time between Jesus' life, our accounts of Jesus' life, in our modern time than Abraham Lincoln in our modern time. because everything deteriorates over time. So the other thing is, with Abraham Lincoln a couple years ago or something like that, even though we may have so many writings about it, we can never be 100% sure of his life. Even if you are elderly enough to have seen Abraham Lincoln during his lifetime, then what we can also say is that memory is fallible. Memory is a fallible thing. So to be 100% sure of anything, it either must A, be in the instant, or B, be an infallible record. Okay? So A, in the instant, or B, infallible. So, because our memories are infallible, if you remember something that happened, if I remember. Oh, and there's a third thing too, but I'll get to that in a second. So, if you remember that you grabbed like these headphones, I just grabbed those headphones, didn't I? But what if my memory serves me wrong? My memory is infallible. Looking back at this footage, I can't trust it at all. Like, even if I look back at the footage, there's just a small chance that something could have happened to it to make that not true. Like, because we can never have 100% certainty. What if in that very instant, like, what if right now somebody's hacking into my thing, they're exchanging it with the AI video of me picking up this headphone, right? So that's why we need 100% objectivity, because we need objectivity means putting things like instant facts, like 100% facts, above what I'm talking about now, which is these quite highly sure things that can be trustworthy in. You can quite highly say, quite highly, that makes no sense. Anyways, you can be quite accurate to say that something like that happened. So we have texts written about certain people in our lives, but we can never say that those are 100% accurate, because there's always a chance. Because even if we have 55,000 documents in the world, I mean, obviously that's an exaggeration, 55,000 documents in the world, all from different people who all saw Abraham Lincoln, there's still a chance that every single one of them is lying to us. And we never know. So we can't be 100% sure of it, but because so many people have said it, I mean, probably not 55,000, but like so many separate people can claim account for Abraham Lincoln's life, then we can accurately say that Abraham Lincoln did live a life, and he was alive. Now, it's actually a bit more evidence to back him up, because there's a special thing with people that makes us separate in categorizing these things. And which brings me to the third thing that identifies a fact. And that third thing actually happens to be that things make an effect. Okay? And whenever you see an effect, you can correctly, well, sometimes accurately, but you can deem that something must have changed to cause that effect. Because for every effect, there's a cause, right? Because this whole world, everything is cause and effect. Okay? So once again, actually, I'll use my hood for an example. So if I put my hood up, I can say with 100% fact that one, it's on my head because it's in the instant, right? And two, since I don't have an infallible source, 2, I can say that somehow this is on my head. That means something must have got it there. Okay? So in that instant, I had a jacket. Of course, we know that as a fact. On my head. Okay? Or whatever you describe this thing. But I had a hood over my head. Okay? We can say that we in that instant we could say that with 100% fact. Like I can say with 100% fact now that I have this hood over my head. Well, I can also say in this instant that something got this there. Because, and naturally, you don't always have a hood on your head. Okay? Which is also kind of an issue because our memory is infallible or something like that. But we know that generally, you don't always have a hood on your head. Unless, I mean, I guess it varies between person to person. You may always have a hood on your head. It could vary with everyone. But we could even put this in the 90% category. But we can say safely that something causes everything else. Okay? Electricity is a very good example because we have these lights on. And we know for 100% fact that these lights are being powered by electricity. Okay? At least that's how it seems to me, unless there's something else that I'm not getting. But to my knowledge, in this instant, but remember, our knowledge is infallible, but we can say that this light is above me is powered by electricity. And it's on. We can 100% say it's on. But we can also say that 100% something causes it to be on, whether it be you flicking the light switch to allow electricity to flow through it, or it be something else, maybe somebody else. But we know that if that something is causing everything else. So that's our third reason for a fact. Like, because I can say, that's why I can have 100% surety in this current instant that I was alive 5 seconds ago. Because right now, if I wasn't alive 5 seconds ago, then I would not be here able to talk to you. Okay, assuming I'm still the same person, same consciousness, right? I'm quite sure that I am. At least I hope I am. I mean, I guess there are people who don't have that. Anyways, those are the 3 things to keep in mind as we go through. That there are 3 things that identify a fact. 1 is, do you remember? 1 is things that happen in an instant are happening in this current instant. 2 is that there could be an infallible source. And 3, cause and effect. Okay, of course I didn't really do a good job of explaining cause and effect here. But I hope you understand. So, let's explain this third thing first, and then we can explain how this really is so important to tying into religion. Okay? I don't want to make this too long. I don't want to go on forever, even though I already am. I'll probably concise this down, which makes no sense. I'll probably shorten this down, cut it down into a more concise version of this, so that you guys can have a good thing to go back and watch to, and not have to like witness all this if you don't want to. Of course, it can be nice getting some additional information and stuff. So, other than just like the most important things. But anyways, you can feel like the emotion. Anyways, I don't know. I keep getting off topic, but I have one more thing, one more section. So I have 5 stars, 100% fact, 4 stars, is anything we can say with high accuracy, because either one, there seems to be an effect on our society, or it seems to be an effect in an instant, because some things can only happen cause and effect. So there are very few things, I mean, maybe not very few things, but there are some things that only happen cause and effect that can be proven as fact by the cause and effect law. I'm going to call it by the cause and effect law, which is Leo's law number 3, I guess, or the fact law number 3. So which I guess I'll just call FL3 if I ever have to come at all. Bring it up again. So anyways, back to where I was. So we have 100% fact guaranteed at 5 points, okay? And then 4 points, we can say, like, to be deemed slightly below that, we can say things with high accuracy that either A, have some sort of an effect on this instant, right? Not everything has an effect on this instant. Or B, can be drawn from an effective memory. C, multiple records of an account or event can say something exists, which of course, okay. And I'm trying to think if there's a fourth one. D, there's very few things that could counter it. So before we had all this advanced AI technology and stuff, and we could still record things, it'd be pretty difficult to say that the things in this video did not happen unless there was a high, very, very advanced realistic animator. It's just so highly to the best of extent of their ability remade this thing, right? So there's some things that don't have much of a counter. So before we had AI and all this advanced faking technology, we could safely say that a video that's recorded, like we'd accurately say, that a video that's recorded did actually happen. Okay? So there's 4 things within the high accuracy but not 100% category, in the 4-point category. And there's one other thing, one other section, which I'd call the 3-point category. And the 3-point category refers to anything that has evidence for it, but because of time or because of interpretation can be taken and proved and stated in factual. Okay, so for example, this is a common argument between Muslims and Christians based on the idea whether, I think it's Muslims, right? That Jesus claimed to be God. Okay. And this occurred very often, right? But the reason that this is an issue and relates to point number 3 is because there are so many interpretations of what people can think about the Bible, even though the Bible claims to be an infallible source. You must have some sort of faith to believe that, I guess. But if it is really an infallible source, it's still subject to misinterpretation. unless blatantly stated. And that could be considered fact because it's from an infallible source and 100% no possible misinterpretations. Then that can be stated fact, right? I hope you're understanding what I'm saying. So, but whenever Muslims and Christians debate whether Christ claimed to be God, they interpret certain verses in different ways. Now, I don't really have one on the top of my head, but unless blatantly stated, it can't be said, right? So, but I do have an example. So, the staff or no staff situation. This is a very common argument against Christianity. And I currently don't know everything, so I really don't have much against it, but or I don't have much to answer yet. But I hope to one day reach that capability. And so the staff and no staff argument comes from a Bible verse, which comes from multiple separate Bible verses, and two of which one of them says that to bring everything and your staff included. The other verse says to bring everything except your staff. Well, people interpret this differently. Some people interpret this as a moral staff in one context, or in metaphysical, intangible staff. So whether it be a staff in representation of your wisdom or guidance or something like that, whatever you want to include it as, it's intangible, right? It's not a physical staff. It's not a rod that you can hold, okay? And some people interpret it as a rod you can hold in both contexts. And because of that, it leads to misinterpretation. Now, it doesn't mean that either of those verses are entirely wrong, but misinterpretation means that none of the two interpretations can be taken as 100% fact. You can't say that whoever it was in this verse told them, it might have been Jesus, who told them to not bring their staff, or to bring their staff, or to bring their literal staff, or not, or it was like a moral thing or something like that, or it was a metaphor, or whatever they're called. So we can't be 100% sure about it. We can't take any of the interpretations as truth because there's multiple interpretations. Now, if it was one thing and it said in all contexts as this is what happened, 100% guarantee, then that would be something different. And the Bible says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And we take the Bible and the Torah and Genesis as 100% infallibility. And there's only one possible interpretation of it, then we can say for 100% fact, if the Bible is infallible, then God did create the heaven and the earth. Yes? But if it's a second interpretation, then none of those interpretations can be taken true. Unless something else that corresponds with it backs it up. Now, when I say corresponds, that could mean a lot. Getting evidence from somewhere else in the Bible, in a different Bible verse, you could use that and also prove that the Bible is say it's a contradiction, right? Or whatever else. Or you could say two things in the same chapter that are clearly aligned and are clearly written by the same person. Well, seemingly aligned with the same context and seemingly written by the same person. That go together. It's like one verse. Like if these two sentences were written separately, that could be the case. But it's one of those four-star things where you can say, well, in one sentence, this man was writing, and in one sentence, Paul was writing. The second sentence, in the sentence following it, Paul's probably writing also. So, that based on that 99% truth or something like that, you can use other contexts to refer to a thing, to be evidence for another thing. But that's going to be a bit less, even possibly in the 3-star range, based on the person, I guess, because things written in different times deteriorate. And there's always a possibility that Paul wrote one sentence, left, somebody else snuck words into his book, snuck another sentence, Paul came back, ignored the last things, and continued writing. What if that happened? What if Paul was divinely inspired and he did write that and that happened? So we obviously can't be 100% sure of every single event in history. And I think this will be my conclusion here. So we do have the 3-star things. Anything that we can't say with 100% certainty because multiple interpretations are the only thing guiding it. So if you want to say that in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, means that the earth was without form and void. That means it was a shapeless blob that was wiggling around or something like that. Or you can say that there wasn't an earth at the time. The earth was without form, means that there was no earth and void. Or you can just say maybe it was like a little ocean of blobbly, and or whatever you want to say. But none of those can be taken for 100% fact because the Bible doesn't directly expand upon those topics. So you can interpret, so you can't say for 100% guarantee, you can't say for 90+% guarantee or 80+% guarantee. It's more of a 3-star thing, right? So maybe you can say with 50% surety at most that that a certain interpretation is correct, but the reason that's 3 stars and it's not to be interpreted or to be put as highly as other things is because of multiple interpretations and it's not directly stated. And of course, you can use common sense as you'd like to identify it and go on from there and include that as evidence for your thing. And that always seems to be effective, correct? But anyways, how does this, before I do my conclusion, which I think I'm getting to the point where I've said most of what matters. Before I get to my conclusion, I would like to say that this does have a huge impact on Christianity. This is why being objective is so important, because sometimes you have to realize that there's a hierarchy. I guess you can call it a pyramid, but there's a hierarchy of different levels of truths and different levels. Because, I mean, truth is fact, right? but there's like different levels of accuracy in each word that you read in either text. So I think it's important to realize that there is always just a slight possibility that something could go wrong, that it is slightly different from what you said, because there's always a chance. There's always a chance. So I think it's very important to be objective in that sense, and it's very important to realize that, and remember that we're all still human, and we're all still mortal beings with limited knowledge and capability, and we are not up to the likes of whatever God we believe in or anything like that. And we're all equally fallible in that sense. So maybe you believe in a all-knowing, infallible God. And maybe that's who you think inspired the Bible. And that's my personal basis. That's my personal belief, right? So I personally believe that the Bible was divinely inspired by God, an all-knowing being, triune God, in particular. So an all-knowing being with infallibility and gave the writers infallibility. And most likely, I mean, I'm not sure if there's a verse about this, but protected and preserved the writings as they went through with it. And that we're getting as they wrote it. And now we're getting a quite full interpretation, quite full writing, like all at once, like that all these letters weren't partially forged or something like that, or like partially someone else, or partially weren't tampered before being sent to Colossus or Ephesus or anything. But I do believe that, and it is part of my statement. But we do have to remember, my point to that was that we do have to remember whenever we're reading the Bible or we're debating an opponent on the Bible, on anything that claims infallibility or claims an all-knowing creator or an all-knowing God, that we have no match against infallibility and we are fallible creatures ourselves, and that we are not all-knowing. So obviously, not everything we're going to understand. Maybe you'll understand in heaven, or you'll understand in whatever afterlife you believe in, or whatever enlightenment you reach, or however it might be. But I think that it's important to remember who we are as people, not as gods, and not as higher than one another. Okay? The other thing I have to say is that we need to be more open-minded, not open-minded as, oh, I'm going to let this come in, I'm going to try out all these bad things. No, this is not something bad. This is a chip. Look. Put it down. I just took it out of my computer. I'm at my computer. Okay. I'm just messing with it. So, but yeah. So we need to be more open-minded. We need to not open-minded as in I'm gonna try out all these bad things. I'm gonna let all these worldly things into my mind. I'm just gonna give into everything that people tell me is correct. I'm gonna do all this stuff. No, that's not how you should be. You should defend your standpoint with strength and determination, and as accurately as you can, of course, and remove any bias and objectively as you can. But be open, as in be open to the possibility that you're incorrect, because none of us are infallible. and none of us are all-knowing or all-powerful or anything like that. And I think it's very important for us to incorporate that into our lives and into our religion too. So, thank you for listening. I think this will be my conclusion of this topic of objectivity, and removal of bias. Now, I really didn't talk about how you can get rid of bias in your things because I'm not really the best on that. But I think it's important to go based off of the hierarchy. 5-point things first, 4-point things second, 3-point things last. And then going down from there and just continuing down the scale. I mean, I think if you're doing anything with the 2-point thing, with around 20 to 30%, 20% maybe, 20%, 10% chance that could be accurate. That's blatant interpretation, or maybe it was like not blatant. Is belligerent the correct word? I don't know what belligerent means. Anyways, I know the word, but no, it's definitely not belligerent. Okay, but it's going off based off of very minute details, stuff like that. You shouldn't be doing that, and letting personal feelings get in the way. So remember to stay objective, and that's kind of the point of this objectivity, following that hierarchy, because it's very important in religious topics. Okay. So that's something I've always respected some people for. It makes you seem like a very honest fellow if you do that, and if you are open to the possibility of you being wrong, open to that fact. Because as in this incident, every single person on earth, as far as I know it, well, at least I know that. Actually, I can't say that for 100% certainty. I can't say that. But as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, not every that as far as I know, every single person on earth is fallible. Okay? Yeah, so remember, be objective. Right. So, and if you want to look for anyone who's objective, might I recommend Alex O'Connor? Okay? He's very honest, kind man. Even though he's an atheist, he does do debates, and it's great to watch them. I think you should watch the debates, and I think you should learn from other people from other religions too. And even if you don't agree with it, right? Because even though I might not agree with atheists, it's important to learn other people's standpoints, because you never really understand what somebody believes until you look into it yourself, right? You don't have to entirely to believe it to know that that idea exists. You just have to understand the concept and understand their perspective. Okay. Anyways, I think that's where I'm going to conclude it today. If you'd like other videos like this, might I put this up here, graphics? I could have done this the whole time. That would have been cool. Not really. Party. It's one of my friend's birthdays soon, so whatever. Anyways, I'm just messing around. There's no reason to do this. Okay. So, what was I gonna do? Captions, QR codes. Oh yeah. So if you want to join us on YouTube and you're not watching from YouTube, if you see in the top right corner now, right here, just join us on YouTube. Scan that QR code. And it's practically all I have, I think. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It should be a little thing below me, or if you're watching this horizontally, you can swipe down on your phone, like on your phone. If you're watching horizontally, swipe down, and it'll pop back up, and you can just click the little button that'll now be below this video, assuming you followed that right, and assuming they haven't updated it. So you want to make as little assumptions as possible, but it's whatever. Have a great day. I think that's all I have for you. It really is. It's gonna be the last time. I'm gonna try to make sure I put out more content for people like you to watch, because I'm losing subscribers the more I don't upload. So yeah, thank you. See you around.